So a lot to talk about. Obviously, we did want to talk about you getting the first submission of the season, and you just told us that you visualized it. You knew that you could get that. Why did you think you would be able to pull that off in this particular fight?
I know Ariel doesn't have much of a ground game. I really just wanted to sink in something really slick. I knew I could get a choke from the back maybe, but she just kind of gave me that side control position, and I synced in my darts.
So in the sparring sessions between you and Ariel, how did they go? Who got the best out of those sparring sessions?
In the sparring sessions, we really just striked. We didn't do any groundwork, so I wouldn't really know how she would be there.
Hold on, so you had no idea what she was like on the ground, but yet you visualized sinking in a darts choke.
Well, I watched every girl fight. I mean, that was going to be on the show. I knew what they were good at and what they weren't good at.
So you thought she sucked on the ground?
Nope.
Is that what you're telling us? Come on.
No, I didn't think she sucked. I just know there's not very much. You
knew you had an advantage.
Yes, I knew I had an advantage.
Very polite way of putting it.
Right, well, if you say you watched footage of all these women, then who did you think going in was going to be the biggest threat? Obviously, we know people got seeded, but in your mind, who did you think was going to be number one?
I thought Barb would be the biggest threat.
Inaugural champ over at Invicta, so you figured that would carry over. So what did you think when Roxanne was listed as number one?
I thought either one of them would be number one. You know, Roxanne did very good in her last few fights. She beat a lot of tough girls. I knew she would be at least number one or number two.
After the fight, you asked Dana for a bonus, and in classic Dana fashion, he said the words, "we'll see."
Yeah.
I asked Dana all kinds of things, and he always says, "we'll see." I talk about much bigger things than that. He's like, we'll see, which is what I say to my kids.
For sure.
Now, question is, did you get that bonus?
I still am waiting for my check, so
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see in a few weeks.
It's in the
Dana
mix.
wants her bonus, so come on, let's go.
That's the other one. It's in the mix. Your bonus is in the mix.
It's in the mail. It's in the mail.
All right. Well, listen. You have had 11 fights. You're only 22. You know, I am curious what you think of the fact that you're sort of being called the sleeper on the show. Justin Gaethje called you the sleeper, and kind of figure that maybe people are overlooking you, and you could actually pull this whole thing off. What do you take on that?
I think it's amazing my coaches have that much faith in me. I've really only been fighting for 3 years, and I'm still growing as a fighter. I know I have a lot of room to grow, but I'm very happy that they think that highly of me.
Well, talking of growing, moving on in your fights, I mean, you normally fight at 115 pounds. Of course, now you're at 125. Are you going to stay at 125, or will you go back down to 115?
I think I might stay at 125. I feel like I'm getting a little bit bigger. I mean, I'm a very tall girl for the weight class.
What do you walk around at? What are you weighing right now? I know I shouldn't say that, but what do you weigh right now, if you don't mind me asking?
I weigh 140 right now.
Oh, wow. So it's still a significant cut for you.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
That's not what I meant.
Ask a woman how much she weighs and followed up with, oh, wow.
What I mean is that's still 15 pounds over 125. So to get to 115, that's 25 pounds, Karyn. And looking at you, you haven't got 25 pounds to lose. So therefore, my natural reaction is, oh, wow. Right?
Nicely explained.
Yeah, wow.
Nicely explained.
I'm really not eating very clean right now. I mean, we just got done filming the show. I know I can walk around at 132 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Thank you.
I tell you what, I actually did have a wow moment in this show, and it was for the opposing team. Eddie Alvarez, I thought, really dropped a lot of great knowledge on the show, and the things that he was saying to Ariel before and after her fight. Let's take a listen to some advice.
Normal people see confrontation and something like this, and they walk the other way. That's what separates us from the norm, you know? Recently, I had, like, my worst nightmare come true. I got knocked out in front of millions of people. And guess what happened afterwards the next day? Nothing. Everybody was still there.
Right.
My family was there. My kids were there. Everybody was still... nothing. It's all built up.
So I know, obviously, he's the opposing coach, but what is your take on that? I mean, people do put so much pressure on this. You know, tomorrow you're still going to be the same person even if you win or lose a fight.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows this is a very emotional sport. I mean, I've had plenty of moments breaking down by myself, not knowing if I want to do this or not. I mean, I think every fighter goes through that. And since we're on this show, she kind of gets to show it to the whole world. That's really what goes on behind the scenes. Like, that's how we feel.
And of course, the whole show is just such a pressure cooker of emotions because you've got 16 people there. Of course, you're all going to fight. And of course, you're sparring together. So you kind of get an inclination of who's going to win and who's going to lose. So did anybody else have any, cracking moments, shall we say?
No, I didn't see anybody else.
Just Ariel.
Yeah.
Just the one that you darsh choke. Just the one that you put to sleep on live TV. She was the only one.
The question is, though, how aware were you of what she was going through during fight week?
I had no idea what
didn't?
was going on until I rewatched the episode. Yeah, I just had no idea. I mean, I feel for her.
Yeah, because, that was the thing, we were talking about this sort of off camera, and if you knew that your opponent was struggling mentally, having a hard time, you might think you have an advantage going into this fight in that you are in a better place. But as you just mentioned, it's tough for every woman in the house.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, it's definitely tough for everybody in there in that situation.
Did you feel anything different from Ariel in the fight to training? Of course, as we just said, she had a tough week leading up to it. Did it feel like the Ariel from the training room?
She felt really strong in the training room and in the cage. I mean, it was basically the same thing.
It certainly looked like she was moving and, she was moving well, she was throwing good shots, she just had a great performance.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to ask you about, because it is such a big part of what female fighters have to go through. You mentioned in the program you like to, dress up, you like to put makeup on and feel good when you're walking into the octagon.
Too.
Yeah,
that's my thing.
Of course. To the tune of I Feel Pretty, isn't it, that you get ready? Mary Poppins, I mean, it's a British thing.
The Shrek theme tune.
Or is it Mary Poppins? Anyway, but how do you approach it? Because female fighters do have to think about that other side of it when they're thinking about marketing themselves. Being pretty will help. Looking lovely in a skirt is going to help as well as fighting.
Yeah, I mean, I've always looked up to Miesha Tate, and she's gorgeous outside of the cage, and she just puts it on, turns it on when she's inside of the cage. So that's who I really look up to, and that's why I always put makeup on and get ready for my fights, but I just like to feel confident in there.
It was weird. Whenever I tried to dress on, I just didn't feel it.
No?
It didn't work for me.
No?
Yeah.
Well, your hips are a little...
A little bit. The childbearing, though.
3 kids. He's got 3 kids. His wife had nothing to do with it.